Welcome to Adeptus On-Air, the show where we examine how individuals and companies make decisions that drive their business and personal success. Each week, we connect with notable professionals who pull back the curtain on the industries that Adeptus has been on the cutting edge of for the last 30 years, including music, sports, and entertainment, as well as new emerging markets.
Hello. Welcome to another episode of Adeptus On-Air. I am again your host, Mike Hoffman, and today I am joined by the multifaceted Wren Valentino. Wren, how you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Happy to be here.
Please don't call me sir. We're not going to get along if you're calling me sir.
Okay, fair enough.
How old do I look to you out of curiosity that you'd call me sir?
I don't want to say.
Oh my God, I don't want to hear, I don't think. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
I'd say 50. I'm going to go with 50.
All right, that's fine. All right, okay. 52. Okay, I can live with 50.
There you go. We're very similar in age, so I get it.
All right, but I'm not calling you sir, so.
It's true.
All right, fair enough. All right, so a film producer, actor, voice actor, novelist. You keep pretty busy.
Yes.
So I'm guessing you've always had that creative bug inside of you?
Yeah, definitely. I think from probably about the age of 7 upward, and yeah, just have always loved storytelling. Have always been really in touch with the imagination and how to use it to tell stories or to illustrate some points of life, I guess.
Yeah.
And have just always been in love with language and words and just the power of them.
So going back to your grammar school, middle school, high school days, you were really into the literature classes and the English classes?
Yes. And I'm really, really indebted to my teachers because I think I had really excellent teachers growing up that really saw something in me before even I did, and just started to foster that and make sure that I had resources. And librarians, I'm forever indebted to librarians. I think between those two, that's why I became a writer.
Yeah.
For sure.
So at what point did you say, all right, this isn't just a hobby. This isn't just something I kind of like to do. This is something I want to do as my profession? Yeah,
no, that's a great idea. That's a great question. So I think I had a really defining moment. This is going to sound probably strange in some way, but when I first got paid to be a writer, then I was kind of like, oh, this could be a thing, right? So,
and what was that for? What did you get paid for?
It was a collection of my one-act plays. So I when I was in community college as a young, struggling broke drama student, as many of us were, I entered one of my. So there was a one-act playwriting contest, and I'd never written a one-act play. And so I went to the library and I checked out a book of Tennessee Williams's collection, 27 Wagons Full of Cotton. And I looked on the page to see how the play was formatted. Yeah. I took a short story, I adapted it into a one-act play. I turned it in. It got picked for the festival. It got produced with my first play. And a gentleman was in the audience who ran a theater company a couple towns away, and commissioned me to write a collection of one-act plays, which I didn't have. So I wrote them very quickly and they were produced. And at the end of that run, 6 weeks, I got handed a check. And I was like, oh, you can get paid for doing something you love?
I thought I was just doing you a favor.
Right, exactly. And so from there, it just kind of, I think it's such a fine line when you do something that you love to do that is also a business. I think there's a fence there, I think, sometimes that you have to walk on very carefully.
Well, listen, there's two schools of thought with that. One is, I'm a smart guy. I could probably get a better paying job, but not love what I'm doing. And it could be a job. And there's nothing wrong with that approach. Or it could be, this might be a tougher route, but it's definitely a route I'm more passionate about. It's a route that I think I can enjoy myself doing. And let's kind of see where that takes us. It's it's a windy road instead of a direct path.
Yeah. And I think the windy road, I think I don't even know if I would say if it was more appealing, but it just was sort of my journey's been very winding, but I appreciate that. Because those curves and turns, I think, is where the discovery happens a lot for an artist. So
no, absolutely. And for you being, as I said before, multifaceted, you're not just in one lane. So, you're, actor, voice actor, writer. And we'll get to the acting and the voice acting in a second, but kind of staying on the writing things, that's kind of where, you kind of took us first, which is great. You write, from what I gather, romance novels, goth, and I believe what you would call urban. So to me, and again, not being an expert in any way, to me, romance and goth are kind of different.
Yeah, there's definitely an intersection there, though, for sure. Between, like, when you look at like some of the, the Bram Stoker's Dracula, which had that gothic element to it, with a little bit of romance, probably some strange romance in there for sure, but beautiful, none the same. But I look at, I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, of course. I mean, who's not? But yeah, I love the, the old creepy house full of a lot of rooms and unknown secret passageways. I grew up reading every Nancy Drew book I could get my hands on, kind of thing. So, and all of that influenced my writing. But the romance, I think, because I write in other genres too, just the romance is definitely the defining for me, for sure, in terms of voice and genre. And I just enjoy it.
So I'm fascinated talking. I talked to a bunch of authors on here. So let's talk about your process.
Yeah.
So let's stick to romance for a second, just because obviously they go different ways. So do you say, okay, today I'm going to begin a romance novel, or do you wait for an idea to come to you and say, let me see where this kind of goes? Like, let's just start with the beginning of the process. How does a book get started?
Yeah, so I will get an idea. Usually it's from eavesdropping on conversations at the grocery store, somewhere along those lines. I'm a story detective, if you will, find story. And then, I don't write right away. I let the idea germinate. And if the idea stays there and continues to brew, then it's an indication that there's something there. I also do story checking. I'll tell people about a story idea. And if I get a gauge or response, like, oh, that sounds interesting, or, oh, I'd like to read that, then that kind of indicates to me that there is story there that wants to be read. My struggle, I'll be honest with you, is deciding on form. Because I write in so many different forms. I write stage play, screenplay, novels, so forth. So I'll sometimes try something in a different form first. I'll write something as a poem or a one-act play or a short story, and then I'll go, this is the wrong form. I need to change this to X, Y, Z. And that's probably the struggle for me, for sure. And then, the novel, the writing process itself, I write very early in the morning. I have a word count. I like to meet every day just to kind of keep me on track and on schedule. But I don't write really great words. So what I do is I just write, and then I go back later on, like usually on the weekends, and then edit and shape. I don't edit as I go.
You make it pretty at that point. You make it right. Yeah. So that you're getting the concepts down very, outline the story. Then you go back and kind of clean it up to something that I'd want to read.
Exactly. So
as you're writing a romance novel, and I know you did some short stories too, but a romance novel, typically could be, I'll do it in the concept of pages. It could be several hundred pages. So there's a lot going on. Kind of we talked about before. It's not just, boy meets girl, boy marries girl. There's obviously the drama, the conflicts, the instigator, all these different things. How are you getting from point A beginning to point B? Meaning, you said you let that idea germinate in your head, but is the idea germinating to how the book is going to end? Does it germinate up to, okay, I got something here, let me go with it, and then kind of as you're writing say, ooh, yes, this is the perfect time to have the person get hit by a car. This is the perfect place to have the evil cousin come in. Like, how do the different ideas and the different twists and turns come to you in the process?
Such a great question. So I do some plotting, I do some outlining often, but so there's different cases. Sometimes that I have the opening of the story really, really strong in my mind, and I just kind of write from that place of like the original image in my mind, if you will. But most often I have the ending, and so I have to work backwards. And so I'm like, okay, how do I get to this point?
Okay.
Like, where do I start from? But I'm one of those writers, even though I have an outline, I really allow the characters sometimes to determine and dictate where we're going to go. And often I'll have an ending in mind, and it's the eventual ending is nothing like what I had in mind, because I'm really so open to that creativity as you go, and just kind of like, like I'll be writing something, I'm thinking I'm going to go in this direction. All of a sudden I'll get a different idea. I'm like, let me try this. And I try it. I allow myself to try it. And then it works better than the original idea. And I see that. And then I just kind of go with that. So, you know, when you look at one of my novels and you look at the outline that it came from,
very different.
Often they don't match.
One of the reasons I'm a little lazy. So, and I'm going to be the first to admit, when I talk to authors, I always like to say to them, I'm not a reader, not my thing. I'd much rather have someone write a movie off of a book, let them do all the interpretations for me. Let me just sit and watch what they've come up with. You know, whether it's what the lead character looks like or whatever, how they cast that person. When you're going through your process and you're writing, whether it's romance or whatever, kind of like when you're thinking about anything, no different than if I'm on the phone with someone. In my head, I have an image of what they look like. I could be dead wrong. I could be thinking they're 60 years old, they're 25, because I'm only basing it off of a voice. Or maybe I have a call with someone, and before I even know that, I still have in my head what this person's going to look like. Or I'll talk to someone, I'll go on a Zoom with them, and I have one look, and they got a full beard, you know, and whatever. When you're writing, are these characters in your head as this is what they look like? I mean, I know it's part of your book. You're, you know, hey, he put her hands through her long blonde hair. But do you like have a face and an everything? So when you're writing a character, it's becoming as real to you as possible?
Yeah, I definitely have a pretty clear visual of the characters. It's almost like casting. It's almost like you're casting your book.
But that's kind of my point. Is it in your head a real person? So I'll use a random person. Is it in your head Sandra Bullock? Or is it in your head a person that you've never seen before that might have features similar to a Sandra Bullock?
Yeah, definitely somebody I've not seen before. I'm not writing thinking about Jessica Lange. I mean, I do, but hoping she, you know, performs it one day.
Sure.
No, it's definitely imagined people. It's definitely, it's probably composites of people that I know subconsciously, quite honestly, or have known. But yeah, no, it's definitely not. I'm not picturing, you know, a specific person while writing. Scripts are maybe a little bit different. I would probably think like, oh, so-and-so would be great for this role, and not maybe not intentionally write towards that person, but definitely in the back of my mind thinking that like that type of person would be great for this.
You made a, you know, you hear sometimes where, I don't know if it's true or not, or just fallacies. If you have someone, you know, read one of your books, is some of your characters sometimes loosely based on people in your life?
Yes.
Where you say, hey, does that character sound familiar to you? And it's our cousin, you know, Johnny.
Yes. And sometimes people who are close to me read the book and ask me, is that a version of so-and-so? And it's a fun question to answer sometimes, especially if they're not very nice characters.
Well, exactly. I don't know if you watched the Big Bang Theory, and that's kind of where I got that question from. That was basically what happened is in one thing, this guy was writing a book, and there was a character, and the two other female leads in the show both thought the character was based on the other one because it was a kind of like a nasty character. And neither one could understand possibly how it could be based upon them. So it was clearly based on the other person, but there's probably a little bit, I guess, at the end of the day, a little bit of both of them in the character.
And there probably was, because the writer is probably influenced by both of them.
Yeah. So the kind of books you're writing are really kind of, to an extent, fantasy type things. You know, and most of the things that you'll read in a romance novel or, you know, a goth are really not something that you've necessarily experienced to that extent. Do you purposely enjoy writing about something that isn't so real to you?
Yes. And interestingly enough, so my novels are definitely sort of rooted in what you're talking about, is that heightened kind of world of everything's bright and pretty, and but my screenplays and stage plays are definitely rooted in reality. So I enjoy writing on that side of things about seemingly ordinary people going through extraordinary circumstances and how those circumstances change who they are at the core.
Give me an example. Give me an example of one of them.
Yeah. So my my stage play called The Truants, which is actually set in the 80s. It's a group of teenagers hanging out in a basement of one of their houses, and it's one single afternoon, 2 hours of the lives of these people. And from cutting school together, and from 11 o'clock to 1:30, they can all 4 or 5 of these characters completely change, and they're never the same. And so that moment, that defining moment, bonds them as a group. But I like those kind of stories where the character enters the story a certain way, and when we get to that final page, final scene, that they're nothing like they were beforehand. And so that arc, that journey, that change, that transformative experience is really what intrigues me as a writer, especially on the dramatic writing side of things. But yeah, the novels are definitely, I mean, you know, who doesn't need a good love story these days, right? So I mean, and romance is such a beautiful community of writers, because there's so much room for everybody in the romance community, and no matter what type of romance, because there's so many subgenres within romance, you know. I mean, I write a lot of, you know, urban and gothic, as you had said earlier, but you know, a lot of people write really sweet, wholesome stuff, and they write really erotic stuff. So I mean, or there's historical romance, which is a huge market. So I just love that it's such an inclusive, welcoming, there's a room for everybody. It's also a community of writers, and I'm sure this happens in other communities too, but I've really experienced other romance writers lifting up other romance writers, which is really lovely to see. There's not such this, like, because we have all those sort of subgenres and those lanes that we kind of are in and stay in for the most part, there's not a lot of like that competition, I think, that you get in more like the screenwriting side of things. So for sure.
No, and that's and you know, I made that point with TV as well now. Like you kind of said, with romance, there's so many avenues and so many different types. Now with all these streaming services and all these networks, you know, back when we were growing up, you know, it was the battle to get on, you know, ABC, CBS, and NBC, and then maybe eventually Fox, you know, or maybe then the other few outliers. But now, you know, I watched an award show last week, and I haven't heard of half the shows being nominated because they're on so many different platforms. Some platforms I might not even have. And let's face it, it's impossible now to possibly keep up with everything. So I think it does allow more people to get involved because it's not as restrictive.
Yeah. I think we've reached the point of saturation for sure. Because when it's, you know, I think of flavors of yogurt, like how many flavors of yogurt do we really need? And so, you know, I mean, I love that there's so much opportunity for content creators, including myself, because there's so many content channels, distribution channels now, and there's even self-distribution in a way that, you know, independent filmmaking has been revolutionized in the last 10 years just because of technology and the access to it, low cost technology at that. It's not such an elitism, you know, that we used to have in terms of having to have so many things to be able to create a film. But the TV content, it's great, but I do think it's a little overwhelming for folks. I think that we have a lot of streaming networks. It's strange because we've shifted from that 3-network, then 4th network model that really kind of streamlined and said, here's your choices, TV Guide, here's your choices of what you can, and we had fewer choices. And television watching, not to sound super nostalgic and sentimental, but television watching was more of an event back then, that you would have that shared event, the water cooler kind of thing the next morning at the office of, did you see the day after, you know, kind of thing. So, and I think that we've lost that. I think that it's become much more fragmented in terms of where television used to create community a lot.
Couldn't agree with you more. I think that exists now more so. It always did with sports. Did you see that game last night? Or maybe even a reality show where there was a consequence or an eviction or a winner kind of thing. But you're right now, and especially with a lot of the streaming sites where a whole season will come out at once. It's not even like one episode now. I mean, you know, I'm not a binger, so it's very hard for me to sit down. I can love a show. I don't know if I can sit down and watch. Maybe if it's a half hour, I can watch 3 or 4 of them. I can't sit down and watch 7 episodes of a 1-hour show. And especially now on these streaming services, there's no commercial. So an hour show is an hour show in a lot of cases. I don't have the mindset, no matter how into it I am, to spend a whole day watching a story.
No,
I agree. But I have the ability to get home tonight from work and at 8 o'clock watch a show that you watched yesterday that our other friend's going to watch tomorrow.
Mhm.
And instead of saying, hey, did you see that last night? The question is, did you see it yet?
Yeah.
And now the questions change, and the answer is, well, not yet. Okay, let me know when you do so we can talk about it.
Yeah, that's very true.
I hear all the time, hey, did you watch the show? Or someone will ask me, I need a new show to watch. When did you ever hear that 20 years ago? I need a new show to watch. No, you watched the show when it came out. And I can say, watch a show. Okay, yeah, and I'll say, it's a good show, but, it's 4 seasons, so you got to watch 65 episodes.
Right. It's a commitment.
That's too much commitment. I'm not going to bother. So it really has changed in terms of what you're gonna watch.
Yes. Yeah. And I think, everyone's kind of edging each other out, trying to get the most provocative content sometimes.
Yeah.
To grab that audience. And it's a lot like book covers when you think about it. I mean, it's very similar. So you got, in this industry, no matter what form storytelling sort of takes, whether it's novels, streaming, there's so much out there now on both sides of that you have that millisecond to grab the attention visually with your aesthetic. To get someone to engage, and it's tough. It's a lot. The market is on both sides is very crowded, very talented people for sure. But there's a lot more of us than there used to be.
So kind of talk about it without getting into specifics. So obviously you've made a career of being a creator, as you said. So where is your income streams coming from?
That's a great question. So, again, had some really great teachers that kind of showed me the way of how, as a writer, to create multiple streams of income, and defining streams of income where you might not expect it, such as monologues. I write monologues for a wonderful company. They're sort of like the Apple of monologues, the iTunes of monologues, and so I generate royalties off of I have 70 stage plays. Those stage plays bring in income in the form of people downloading the monologue, people downloading the stage play, producing the play. I'm very fortunate that a handful of my plays are produced regularly. Community colleges and universities, community theaters have been very good to me and my work. I also have royalties from books. I have 15 novels out. And so those, and I work with 7 different publishing companies. So those schedules are so different that it usually determines that there's income coming in from some of those streams regularly.
Right.
And I think it's like anything else, because you rely so much on public support that, social media is a necessity. Book signing, going to conferences and just meeting people, because again, it's a very competitive market. So I've more and more have had to make room in that writing schedule for the business side of things, specifically promoting. And some of my publishers promote, but I don't think anyone's going to promote your work the way that you will.
Right, exactly.
So, but it's a really good business model. I did not do this on my own. I just have to give credit for what it is due. I'm definitely a creator. That's where I serve the whole thing.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. That makes sense. Yeah, because
just recognizing that.
So how would you like to see? Obviously, like we said before, doing so many different things, and we didn't even get to really the acting and the voiceovers, but where would you like to kind of see your career trajectory at this point? Is it focusing more on one aspect versus something else?
Yeah, the screenwriting has really been really good to me lately. I have a few new screenplays that have been doing really well at film festivals this last year, and have opened up some conversations with some higher level gatekeepers than I've had conversations with before, which is very exciting. I think that's I'm going to continue to do the other things too, but I feel like where my momentum is right now is really on the screenplay side of things. I've had it's interesting saying this is a romance writer, but I've had some great success with writing some horror films. And
romance and horror are very similar.
They can be on a good day for sure. But so I'm just kind of waiting to see where that goes, because it feels like it's going in a really good place. And creatively right now, that's where I've been most inspired, those stories to tell those creepy, what's lurking behind whatever kind of stories. And I love
think as you're writing a romance novel, they're getting to the pinnacle where the guy and girl are coming together at the end. They're going to have their big kiss. It's building up to that. And then you forget and you think you're doing a horror movie. Then suddenly comes comes out inside with a machete and just like takes off her head? Or do you not normally get confused like that?
Interestingly enough, one of my feature film screenplays that is doing well has a romance element in it in the middle of it. So maybe it's a hybrid that I'm creating. I don't realize it, but yes, when the machete shows up, all bets are off at that point.
Right. I mean, yeah, but that probably covers your goth. That covers your horror.
Yeah, covers it all. Checked all those boxes.
So it's funny. A lot of authors, obviously have a series. We'll all have one character, like a detective or something, in multiple books. You can have one character. This would be an interesting concept. Have one character in a romance novel, in a horror novel, and in a goth novel.
I could.
It's kind of like a TV crossover.
Time travel.
Yeah, TV crossover. The same character goes all the way through.
Yeah. I wonder if James Patterson's done that.
If anyone would have done it, it's James Patterson. And
right,
it's
exactly.
Funny. Like I said, I don't read a lot. He's one of the authors I've read, and I really love James Patterson.
Yeah, and I love Danielle Steele for that reason. So I hear you for sure.
Yeah, I can say I've not read a Danielle Steele, but James Patterson. I've actually read several of his books. Actually,
yeah, no, me too. He's a great, terrific writer, great storyteller.
Yeah.
He's very good at structure. He's very good at structure.
So let's get to the important stuff now, because Michelle, our marketing person, told me that we do have something in common. And I think you know where I'm going with this.
I do.
Yeah. So I was told that you are a fan of the cult classic Grease 2.
I am. I know every word, every song, every lyric.
Yeah. So it's funny because I don't know if she told you, but I had a podcast a few months ago, which you should totally go back and listen to, with Amanda Gabbard. She's a just makeup in the entertainment industry, and she's also, I don't even know how it came up then, but she's just obsessed with the movie. So she promised me, and Amanda, if you're listening, she's going to track down someone from Grease 2, and we're going to get him on here, and we're going to co-host. So I will make the same offer to you. You find someone from that movie.
Okay.
Let's get them on here, and let's talk to them. There's got to be someone willing to come on. So you're in the business. You got to know someone who knows someone, but we need to make this happen.
Yeah, no, I mean, there's so many talented people in that cast. I mean, obviously Michelle Pfeiffer, but
I'm not expecting us to get her, but there's a lot of other people we can kind of go with.
Yeah. And it's interesting too. I mean, Grease, I know you know this, but there always is such this strange, like, two different camps. Like, you either love Grease 1 or Grease 2. I mean, I love both. I'm probably one of the few people that do. I don't know how you feel about that, but yeah.
Well, I'll give you my take. I think Grease is a much better movie. Movie. I enjoyed Grease 2, and similar to you, I can get through most of the songs, right now as well. So I enjoy it. If it's on TV, I'm going to watch it. I just think Grease 1 was a better movie.
Well, and I think part of that could be because it was developed as a musical first. So all of the plots and stories and characters were tried and tested on Broadway before it became a film. But then you brought in Olivia Newton-John, who was just a perfect person. So,
and when you think about that cast, just in terms of the quality of the people and the quality of the performers, I mean, you have Stockard Channing, who's just a fantastic
phenomenal
actress. You have the two leads. John Travolta obviously had a tremendous career. Olivia Newton-John, and then you go to Grease 2, and besides Michelle Pfeiffer, and I don't know this, I don't follow it now. I have a feeling she would probably not call that one of her crowning career moments. Just a theory, just saying. And when you think about everyone else, no one in that cast really. And again, maybe you could say they've been in 1,000 things, but from my perspective, wasn't so much in the industry. None of the people in that really became big in the industry. So, that's not why. And I just thought it was the storyline or whatever. I just thought it wasn't nearly as
well,
good.
but I gotta tell you, soundtrack for soundtrack, they're both equal, because there's so many great, iconic, amazing songs in Grease too. My friends and I, we sing those songs still.
If I sang that with my friends, I don't think I'd have friends. So I don't really sing them now, but no, there are some good songs. I mean, like I said, I still know them. It's just kind of funny. And again, this happens in all of it. It happened, and I have young kids. It happened in the High School Musical series that you get to the end and there's the big song, and then it's followed by the peppy song. And Grease 2 was very much, it had the opening number, It had it followed the same script. It had the big luau at the end that had the song, which was the same song as they had at the carnival.
Right.
And then it was followed by the graduation song, which was followed by the, We Go Together song. So the structure to me, maybe that's what it was also bothering me a little bit, how it just really felt like it was Grease 1, new characters, a slight twist of the story, kind of thing, same movie. But
did you get to watch the Paramount series about the Pink Ladies? Did you?
No, I did not.
Yeah, I feel like they were just sort of finding their feet, and then Paramount Plus pulled the rug out from under them, so we didn't get to see them really come into their own. But it's interesting watch, especially as a Grease fan, for sure. If you get a chance, binging, don't binge it, just watch one episode.
No, I definitely can't binge something like that. Yeah, but I do agree with you. I think some of the songs, they're catchy, they're entertaining, and so forth. So, all right, really fast, top song from each movie, go.
So there are worse things that I can do from the first Grease is by far the quintessential song for me. I gotta go.
I know what you're gonna say. I have a feeling I know what you're gonna say, but go ahead.
Cool Writer is probably either that or Girl for All Seasons. I think those are neck and neck for me.
Oh, see,
yeah.
To me,
but I do. I mean,
just so dragged out.
Yeah,
because you kept hearing them rehearse it. You kept hearing them rehearse it. Like for me, that was enough of that song.
Yeah. I think for me, it was just the costumes for that song were just, out of this world in a wonderful way. But, Cool Writer, Michelle Pfeiffer on the ladder. I mean, that's just such an epic,
as a guy, Michelle Pfeiffer on the ladder, that probably goes down as one of the top moments of, and again, probably one moment she'll probably never want to acknowledge in her life.
But it helped get her to where she is today. I'm sure at some point there's got to be a little bit of level of gratitude.
I think that's what actors realize, that they look back like, wow, I didn't like that I was in that, but I'm also probably not where I am today.
Yeah.
Without that. So it's probably a love-hate.
It built a fan base for her, I'm sure. I mean, I know it did with me. I didn't know who she was until Grease 2, which was great.
Correct.
Of course, everyone loves her now for good reason. She's so talented.
Oh yeah, so many. She's the kind of actress that I love because she can really go into so many different genres.
For sure, and has.
Yeah. I mean, Dangerous Minds, that kind of movie. Then you have One Fine Day, romantic comedy. She can kind of hit so many different things, and she's good at all of them.
Yeah, including Grease 2.
It was good in Grease 2, but Grease 2. But again, I want to be clear. Anyone from Grease 2, come on, please.
I hope that happens for you, and if it does, let me know, because I will.
You have my word. You will be on that with us if we could get someone from Grease 2.
Over the moon. Yeah, they're all such great, talented people. So many of them in both movies were theater people and came from the world of theater, which makes a lot of sense. So, yeah. So
do you think we'll ever see a Grease 3?
I don't know. I mean, I know they've tried to do it a lot of different ways, but I feel like with the demise of the Pink Ladies TV show, I think that might have put the nail in the coffin for a little bit. But I really hope that somebody comes up with a really innovative, cool way to bring it back, because I think it'll be the concept that moves it forward for sure. So, it would be great, right? A trilogy. Let's have a trilogy.
Because I do think shows now that are musical based have had some success.
Yeah. Definitely.
And some movies like La La Land, or like I said, I mentioned high school musicals, or go back 10, 12 years, Glee. Shows that have a musical. I think they do catch the eye of a certain substantial population of the audience.
Yeah, it's good timing.
Yeah,
good timing. Yeah,
it's good timing.
And there's audience there, like people like me and you would go and see Grease 3, right? We'll show up and.
I'd have to go alone, because I think if I told people I was going to see it, at least in my group, I would probably chastise. So I'd have to kind of go by myself.
Yeah. I have friends that would go with me. So,
so that's funny. So let's talk briefly about your acting and the voice acting. I always think voice acting is like fantastic. And talking to you now, I can totally see why you do voice acting. You have a very distinct voice and so forth. So talk about some of the voice acting stuff that you've done.
So the voice acting happened. It was a happy accident, I have to tell you. So during the pandemic, like everybody else, had not much to do and a lot of time on my hands. So I signed up for a voice class with an actress named Nancy Sullivan, who was known for like Josh and Drake on Nickelodeon. And it was an animation voiceover class. And I'd always been told by acting teachers, like, you should think about voice work. You know, that could be a good lane for you to try. And okay. And so during the pandemic, I took this class, had a lot of fun, and I didn't do much with it. And then fast forward 2 years later, and I had posted on another social media platform a video of me talking about something, and a casting director friend of mine reached out and said, you know, you'd be really good for voiceover. I said, oh, it's funny. I took a class. And she's like, let me record this, do this, and let me send it out and see what happens. I said, okay. So I did like a little 2-minute voice demo reel of 4 different scripts she'd given to me, commercials and stuff. Mm-hmm. And she calls me back and she says, okay, I got you booked for 3 films. Like, what? This is easy. Yeah, mostly low budget horror movies. I'm a radio caller. I'm a sassy friend. I'm all these different things. So it's been a lot of fun. It's fun because, and then I did invest in a home studio for myself, and when it started to become a thing, I've now done 15 films. I just recorded something for another film earlier this week, and have another one coming up. But and I'm working with a lot of the same directors and the same studios. Our SRS Cinema has been very good to me, for example. But and it's such an interesting community, because these are actors you never see, but you hear. And so I took a lot more classes since then, and have studied it more, and really kind of polished that part of my life. But it's a lot of fun, because I get to read some really crazy stuff sometimes, and some really fun horror flicks, for sure. I mean, I've done other stuff besides horror, but that's been kind of the consistent genre throughout. But I'm really excited to see where that goes. I'm auditioning now for a lot more commercial audiobook kind of stuff, so see how that goes, for sure. But it's a great time, and I really enjoy it. And you get to play all different kinds. And again, it's power of language, power of words, which is my first love. So
yeah. Well, awesome. And then you are the artistic director of Pioneer Players.
Yes.
So as we're wrapping this up, tell us briefly about that.
Pioneer Players is a nonprofit, very positive theater company in Sacramento, where I live, Sacramento, California. And we produce classics and original works and shows for theater for young audiences. We're located in the fellowship hall of a beautiful church. And it's just in downtown Sacramento. We're relatively new. We just, in our second show, we did The Importance of Being Earnest, which was a lot of fun. And it's just been a lot of fun. I love theater, and I work with a really wonderful woman, Cindy Lopez Spencer, on all things Pioneer Players. And we have a great time, and it's all about creating community and safe space for us, for actors and audiences, and just having a place where you get to come watch some feel good stuff.
Fantastic. So how can people follow you on social media?
So I'm Wren Valentino everywhere, TikTok, Instagram, all those places. And then my website is wrenvalentino.com, and Wren has a W in front of it, because a lot of people think it's REN. And
those silent letters get people all the time.
Silent letters, yeah. Wren like the bird.
I enjoyed talking to you. I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
Fascinating stuff, and I wish you nothing but continued success.
Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to the Grease 2 show.
Yeah, well, you got to help me make it happen. So
I'm on it.
All right, thanks for listening, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks for listening to Adeptus On-Air. If you like this episode, please subscribe and leave a review. The views and opinions by the podcast speakers and guests are solely their own and do not reflect the opinions of Adeptus. This podcast provides general information only and is not intended to constitute advice.